Hello my friends, you're listening to Ebird Online and I'm back with another review. Oh my god guys, every single time I see Natalie, I think where in the Lord did they find this chaos of a woman? And this week, yet again, she disappointeth me not. I honestly thought after last week's shenanigans, Natalie and Mike would have nothing left to give us. Oh my god, how wrong I was. This storyline is literally the gift that keeps on giving. Right guys, just before we begin, I have a public service announcement. The Ebird is nearing 40,000 subscribers and would like you to help push her over the edge. So if you've yet to do so, please press that big red button and make Ebird a very happy Ebird. And to all of those who have subscribed thus far, a massive thank you. I genuinely appreciate it. Right, without further ado, I give you Mike and Natalie. So when we first see Mike this week, we're treated to yet another season highlight of Mike lumbering slope-shouldered around the ranch. He's glum, you see, for Natalie's disappeared once again. He tells us that he got a lot of stuff off his chest last night. Really, Mike? Now go for the stomach, the double chin, and perhaps the inner thighs. And then he said he'd been holding things in for way too long. And then we see a few excerpts from last week's Great Showdown. And it's the part where Mike was saying, "Natalie, you're never at home." And Natalie said, "Mike, you're never at home. You don't come home until 8:30 in the evening. Guys, if no one's home, then why can't Uncle Bo move back in? Maybe Avec tomorrow. Nobody's home, so what the hell?" So Mike decides to call Natalie, and Natalie in turn blanks him. And Mike laments that he's no longer a priority in Natalie's life. And he tells us all he wants is to have a normal conversation with her to see where they both stand. Oh good lord, Mike, I can tell you where you both stand. You stand knee deep in shit, Michael. That's where you stand. Natalie stands on the top of Mount Rushmore with a flag in hand. For she's victorious in this little escapade of hers. She wanted to get her green card and now she has it. Well, she doesn't have it, but now it's too late for you to stop her getting it. Yeah, Mike, you're finished, and that should be painfully obvious from her behaviour during the last 3 months. In fact, ever since you put a ring on it, she's been treating you like like Uncle Bo. She's been treating you like she treats Uncle Bo. And so Mike decides to call his mum. "Hey, Punkosaurus." And the more I thought about this nickname, it really did seem pretty apt. And then he tells her the news that he can't get hold of Natalie, and he's got no idea where she is. And Trish was very matter of fact. In fact, at some point she's a little bit too matter of fact. And she explained to Mike, Natalie argues with you on purpose, so she has a reason to leave. And then she also said, among other things, Natalie never ever loved you. In fact, Natalie doesn't even like you. She's a snake in the grass. She's a scammer. And when she gets her green card and visa, she's gonna be gone. And the truth be told, I make all of the previous statements pretty much correct. I think the main one that's correct is the fact that she doesn't even like you. I don't think she does. And then Trish delved into her encyclopedic knowledge of American immigration law, and she said divorce her ass, and then she's gonna have to go back. Trish, it doesn't work like that. She's now in the country. Look at Danielle and Mohammed. Look at Molly and whichever waster she was with. Look at Colt and Larissa. Very often you do get to stay in the country. And then Punkosaurus signed off by saying, "You need to get that ball rolling." It doesn't make any difference. When he said "I do," that was when he'd sealed his fate, unfortunately. And guys, lots of my subscribers have been saying to me, Mike's mum's a problem because she pokes her nose in and she doesn't like Natalie, which she doesn't, and Mike always lies to Natalie and says she does. Mike, stop lying. No, she doesn't. But people think that Mike makes things worse by telling Punkosaurus all about Natalie's wrongdoings. But when he was talking to her today, it suddenly struck me, Mike doesn't really have any friends. And unless you want the advice of a pub drunk, Uncle Bo, he has nobody else to advise him or to even talk things over or through with other than his mum. And that's a really bad situation for him to be in, I do realise. But I do actually think a hell of a lot of guys haven't got other guy friends that they can talk to kind of openly with. Maybe they can banter with or moan with, but not actually openly pour their heart out. And that's the reason I think that Mike decides to tell Trish absolutely everything. She's the only person that can counsel him. Unfortunately, he's asking the second most passive-aggressive person in the country to help with his problems. Guys, no wonder they've been exacerbated. No wonder. And then at the end of the segment, Mike lets us into a secret. My mum doesn't like Natalie. You are joking, Mike. Some things aren't even worth saying. We know. She knows. Everybody knows. Yeah, so he said, so my mum doesn't like Natalie. However, she's very important to me. And I'm going to keep working on it. Don't bother, Mike. Pancasaurus had it right. Never mind thinking about if Natalie still loves you. She doesn't even like you. And next time we catch up with this couple, we're at Dom Julia. And Juliana's busying herself, making tea and cake. And she takes it through to Natalie, who's reclining in the bedroom. And as per usual, Natalie looks glum. And Juliana tells her, don't worry Natalie, we'll get through this together. What? We? Who's we? V Strange. And then Juliana gives Natalie a very big hug. And she strokes her. And then she stares for what seems like far too long at Natalie's face. And then Juliana tells production she doesn't know what has caused the argument, but her heart is open to Natalie. Be very careful, Juliana, because when Natalie has open hearts, she rips them out with her bare hands and tears them in two. That's the kind of gal she is. So guys, what time is it? It's time for Gloat of the Week. Last week, lots of people called me many things, including a homophobe, overly optimistic, ridiculous, reaching, and prejudiced. I'm none of those things, but I tell you what I am. I'm on the money, as I so often am. The only thing I've yet to work out now is how to guide it into my pocket. But I digress. What did the Ebird say to you last week? Now, before anybody mischaracterises or misconstrues what I said, I never once said Natalie was a lesbian. In fact, I don't think she is a lesbian. What I said was there was something strange going on between Natalie and Juliana, and I think it's unrequited love on the part of Juliana. And guess what, this week, nothing that I have seen this week has refuted that. In fact, everything that I've seen this week has backed that up. And people said I'm reading into situations. Oh, look what situation I'm reading here. Well, if it isn't Juliana climbing over Natalie so she can lay down next to her in bed. Now, when the Ebird saw this, I was thinking maybe the bed's jutted up against the opposite wall and she can't otherwise access the space in bed. Perhaps. But then at the end of this scene, the camera pans out and I see that it's extremely easy to walk around the bed like a normal person and lay on the bed from the other side. So yes, I'm sticking with my theory from last week, that Juliana in some way fancies Natalie and Natalie's just using it, as she always does, to her best advantage. There have been many clues. And this was clue number 1 in a list of about, 69 or so. So Natalie bollocks on about all the fights and arguments that she and Mike have been having. You know, the ones that Natalie drums up herself just so she can get away. And the whole time that Natalie's talking, Juliana is stroking, touching, caressing and soothing Natalie's face. Juliana, where's your husband? I heard that you came over to America 20 years ago with your husband. At this point, guys, I'm getting more and more worried as to his whereabouts. Hello, is that 911? Yep, get the patio up, please. Also, check out upstairs. There's a funny smell coming from the bloody attic. And guys, this whole interlude just became more and more strange. At one point, Natalie stopped speaking and Juliana hugged her, but as she did so, she stroked her hair and nuzzled on her breast. And Natalie had a self-satisfied and smug look on her face, as well she might. And seeing this made my acid reflux flare up again. Natalie said, my relationship is so toxic, I can't remember any of the good times. That's because there weren't any good times, there were just shit times and even shitter times. And then she said, I'm done with this relationship and there's no need for even talking or anything. Next time we see Natalie, she's getting in the car with a couple of brand new suitcases and an old bag. Juliana. Sorry guys, I'm not a fan of Juliana, I'm really not. And this unlikely couple drive over to Mike. So guys, as they're going over, it becomes quite clear that Natalie's going to be moving out, she's going to be packing all of her stuff. And Natalie says, I don't want to talk. In some ways, I hope that Mike's not even there. Natalie, I can see by the light, it's night time. Why wouldn't Mike be there? I'm reliably informed he finishes work at 5:30. If you didn't want Mike to be there, why didn't you just go in the middle of the day? And so guys, even as they're sitting in the car, Juliana is rubbing and caressing Natalie's face still. And they drive the car onto the ferry and go across to Sequim. And once they arrive, Natalie gets the cases out of the car and Juliana stays put. She goes into the house and as it turns out, Mike is there. Of course he is, guys. It's after bloody 5:30, that's why. And that's where producers decided to cut off for this week. So what does the Ebird make to all of this? Well, I think I've done all the gloating I need to do regarding the relationship between Juliana and Natalie. And it's my belief that yet again, Natalie is doing what Natalie does best. She's using people. This time, it's poor old Juliana. So as we see, Juliana is, how can we say, very attached to Natalie, and she was stroking her face and so on whilst Natalie was talking to her today. And I noted with some interest, the only reciprocal touching that we saw was Natalie stroking Juliana's arm. We didn't see anything more than that. And here's how I think things will roll for Juliana. Juliana will provide a safe place for Natalie to move to when she moves all of her stuff from Mike's house. She'll be with Juliana maybe 2 months, maybe 3, and all the time she'll either be online dating or she'll be hitting those bars and trying to set herself up with another man, maybe a man of more means, so she can hopefully stay in the good old US of A. Oh guys, the Ukraine's loss is your gain. You're stuck with Natalie for life. And another thing I noticed about this episode was the fact that Natalie completely rewrote history when she was saying what Mike's mum was saying to her on the phone. When she was repeating that story, she said, "As soon as I got on the phone, Mike's mum said, I never called you a hooker. You made it all up. You're crazy, you're lying, you're lying." That didn't happen. When she got on the phone, she asked Mike's mum really gingerly, what's your impression of me and what has drawn you to those conclusions? That is what she asked. It took for Mike to end up saying, "Come on Natalie, ask. Ask if my mum called you a hooker." And then she heard, and then she addressed it. Oh guys, Natalie's nothing but a liar. And she also rewrote what Mike said and how Mike was. And understandably, Juliana was saying, "It's awful, I'll support you. I don't know why Mike's being like this." And so yes, Natalie's manipulating and lying like she always does. On to Mike. Mike's delusional. And he's delusional for 2 reasons. Firstly, he thinks all of this is of Natalie's making. No, Mike, it certainly isn't. You should have known when she treated you like dog crap in Ukraine that she wasn't going to get any better and that she had nothing but contempt for you. This continued when she got to America. She called you low class and she said you had a low IQ. She kicked Uncle Bo out and she berated you for having affairs left, right and centre. And whilst all of this was happening, you did nothing. All you did was rolled your eyes in your passive-aggressive way. And that emboldened Natalie and she became worse and worse, be it possible. And the second reason for your delusion is that it was very clear right from the outset that you were punching. Natalie knew it, you knew it, and you wore it on those sloped shoulders of yours. You were always just a stepping stone for Natalie to get to the next level. Your mum told you it, all of your friends told you it, everybody that ever met her told you it, but yet you ignored it because you were so intoxicated by the idea that you might have a really good looking wife. You didn't think you had to smarten the house up for her, or clean, or keep your weight off, or even show Natalie a good time. You just slumped around your ranch all day, trying to trick Natalie that all American women put oil in their cars on a Saturday. It's quite normal to stand around chopping wood. How long did you think she was going to stand that for? And also, when big problems occurred, you never sought to resolve them. You just used to shrug your shoulders and call your mum to complain. So whilst I agree, yes, Natalie's been an absolute night terror, Mike, you kind of brought it on yourself as well. And Mike still isn't ready to let go. He said, "I want us to work on this relationship." Mike, there's nothing there. You don't even like her personality. You don't like the way that she behaves. You constantly say to her, "Relax, let's just get to know each other." All you like is the way that she looks. Mike, you pay when you're a shallow MF. Now the Ebird likes good looking boys, it has to be said. But I at least matched that with a bit of a personality and a bit of a career. Mike thought Natalie's blonde hair and blue eyes was going to be enough. It may well have been, but your rickety ranch and boring life weren't enough for her. So guys, let me know what you think. Is Natalie's next plan to find a richer, better looking American? And to ghost Juliana? I certainly think so. And did Mike bring this on himself? Should Mike have seen all of the signs before he actually put the ring on Natalie's finger and called it off? Please let me know what you think in comments down below, and I will get on with my next video. And guys, before you ask, no, I haven't forgotten. I'm still doing the Natalie body language video. It's just taking a little while. So I'll see you very soon. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and all of that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for listening. You've been listening to Ebird Online, and I bid you good day.